Check, check, check. Are we on? Right, here we go. Hello. The rock's over here. Oh, it's a bit wet as well. I'm gonna have a really wet bum by the end of this. So, hello. Yeah, today we are in Scotland, in a spot near Fort William. Fort William's right behind us. In fact, Ben Nevis is in that cloud just up there. And I'm at the Length studio, which is just over there. Loman Campbell's and Susie's studio, building space and stuff like that. I'm in the Airbnb next to it doing a residency. I did a video on the Lengths and the machines that Loman's made a few months ago, actually. I came in the summer. I much prefer the weather today. It's so nice. It's not warm, it's not sunny. It's my ideal kind of weather. I really wanted to bring a Kosmo DIY modular synthesizer. The issue that I had is the synthesizer that I usually use, the DIY synthesizer, Kosmo 2.0, is blooming massive and it doesn't fit in a car. So I needed to make a portable version of this synthesizer to bring here to try and make music. I started by making a couple of smaller, lighter weight cases. These were based on the actual that we built around Simeon Rogers' house, who also makes synthesizer modules that big. And these are made a little bit differently than what I've documented making cases like before. Basically, you start with a bit of timber basically that measures 14 centimeters wide, 2 centimeters thick, and you get lengths of 2.4 meters or whatever. And you chop them up to the dimensions that I put on the video here, and you get a nice looking case. It's slightly different because both rows of the modular synthesizer modules don't actually touch. There is a bit of wood that goes in between. And because they're not as deep, they're not as heavy, and they're more portable. They're not as stable and as sturdy. That doesn't really matter when you can shove it in the back of a car. So I guess it is portable-ish. Since I was building pretty much a whole new synthesizer from some older modules that I didn't really use anymore, as well as newer modules, which I'll talk about in a second, I decided to take a little bit of a different concept on how to actually use the synthesizer. With Kosmo 2.0, my live DIY modular synthesizer, I tend to use MIDI sequencers. These are the things that are at the bottom of the synth case. There's an Arturia BeatStep Pro and a Circlon. What these basically do is you push the buttons, you program them, and you can program in sequences for drums, for synthesizer lines and things. It's got the thing where you play it in the keyboard and then it plays it back to you, and you can mold it and change it like that. The actual sequencing and the playability is nothing to do with the actual DIY synthesizer modules. These sequencers basically tell those what sounds to make. However, when you take those sequencers away from that synthesizer, you can't really make music with it because it hasn't actually got any modular built-in sequencing capabilities. So I decided with the PortaKosmo to limit it by only being able to be sequenced by itself. This led to a problem because I didn't actually have a trigger sequencer. I never built a trigger sequencer for it because I never needed to. So I went ahead and built quite a complicated trigger sequencer that was based on a very old project that I did on YouTube. There's a link below of another sequencer. I modified it a bit, and there's going to be a longer video talking about this sequencer next week over on Patreon if you're interested. After a couple of days and 140 switches, I managed to get that built. It was quite a slog to put together. But you merge this with some other sequencers that are made to sequence voltages. It meant that PortaKosmo was going to be able to make its own music on its own accord. Also, if you aren't aware, Kosmo DIY modular synthesizers, well, other people actually make it in that format as well. I know, it's amazing. In fact, there's a Modular grid, and if you look at that, there's a whole website listing out loads of different ones that you could build yourself. You could either order it from some of the people who make the circuit boards for their own module. And because I still wanted it to be quite tuneful, I decided to make a couple of specific modules that would work really well with these kind of sequences that I'm going to be using in the synthesizer. I made two modules by a Kosmo modular synthesizer builder called Analog Output. These are dual quantizers. It takes voltages like this and it forces those voltages to be specific voltages that correlate to notes in a musical scale. There's a bunch of knobs on the front so you can change the scale to the one that you want to use. But this meant I can have 4 tuned sequences going on at the same time because there's 4 quantizers and I've got a bunch of sequences here and there I can plug into them. And these really helped out for the songs that we're going to be talking about in a little moment. I also pulled out a bunch of older modules that I hadn't used for a while. I had to modify a couple of them because a couple of them had banana jacks instead of jack sockets, but these all added to the usefulness of the synthesizer to make music. The first thing I did was made a jam that was basically to test all the modules and see if the idea and everything was working and it was all in tune. And that made use of all of the modules, including the synthesizer voices and all of the drums and the sequences on the top case. The following day in the morning, it doesn't start actually getting light here until about 8:30 in the morning. But the water that you look out from the window onto was just covered in mist, and it was also frozen. It was about -4 that day. And it's then I realized I should probably make songs that are sort of inspired by what I'm seeing, because I can make these songs anywhere really, but I'm here, so I may as well try and get inspired by the surroundings. And that's when I programmed a really slow sequence that basically harmonized some of the oscillators in a really low bass sound. I just looked outside and started making a song. Which came out as this one, which is called Cloud Inversions. At this point I thought I should probably make other songs about what I'm seeing. So the following morning it was a little bit warmer and everything was starting to thaw. So I was like, okay, let's make something a little bit more uplifting because it's a little bit sunnier and stuff like that, but keep the kind of low, cold, kind of unfriendly tones about it, but in a happy kind of, hello kind of way, which I ended up making this song thawing sequence. And for the video, which I put up a couple of days ago, I decided to get the synthesizer out and test its portability to the max and take some videos of it just sitting around. It's pretty cool, it kind of looks like monoliths just sitting around in the distance. I basically let the arty-farty inside of me go crazy. It's at that point I went on a walk up the hill and found some really nice streams and decided to record those and also record some videos of them and then take them back, put them on a tape loop, play the tape loop from the copycat and then also play a song over the top, which actually came out a little bit more lively than I was hoping, but it is what it is. you listen right now, you can hear a lot of clanking and background noises. Well, earlier today when I was starting another song, I thought I'm gonna do something with that kind of sound that is like the background of this place. And that's thanks to what's going on the shore on the other side. If you look, if we spin it around, you can see there's a nice big, I don't know, I think it's a lumber yard, a factory and stuff, but there's some really interesting noises coming from it. And I decided, yeah, let's make a song about what it sounds like from over here. It's like a lot of clanking, a lot of clonking. You can hear reverb coming from the valleys. And then you've got the nice tide that is actually pretty rapid. Like when the tide comes in and out, because this is actually connected to the sea, you could see so many currents. It's somewhat deadly. Like you don't want to be stuck out there when the tide is going out or coming in, or you're just going to be pulled around like nobody's business. But with this one, I came up with a sound that I used in a couple of the other ones. It's basically a foghorn sound. What I did is I had a square wave coming out of the oscillator on a jack cable, and basically I had that plugged into the spring reverb. When you plug it in and pull it out, it actually sounds like a foghorn. This place is absolutely blooming awesome, and it's a lot nicer in the winter because there's no sun and it's not too hot. It's absolutely lovely. And I love this beach, if you can call it that. It's just covered in seaweed. So if you're interested in coming and doing something, anything really, not even music, and you know, get in touch with them because it's blooming awesome. This scenery is like blooming awesome. But yeah, if you're interested in getting the EP that I bashed out this week, then the links are below. There's also a bunch of extra videos of all of the songs, pretty much full length for whilst I was recording them, over on Patreon, along with hundreds of other thingamagoops from the past and the future. I tried to put as much as I can over there because Patreon funds like being able to do these videos and things like projects like this. So thank you very much to the Patreon supporters for making it possible for me to be able to spend a week in this awesome place trying to make music and popping it up on YouTube. Blooming awesome! Anyway, I'm aware I didn't really do a good job of describing PortaKosmo, and there'll be another video coming up when I update it again because I'm going to add another case because I think I need 4 cases now. So yeah, there'll be another video. Keep an eye out. Anyway, I'm Look Mum No Computer. This is the PortaKosmo EP Volume 1. And yeah, if you like what you see, don't forget to subscribe. And this is just, what a lovely place. What a lovely place.